Bharti, we can get started.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bharti from GSTZ. So this webinar is regarding e-invoicing for turnover above 5 crores that will begin from 1st of August. Please let me know if my screen is visible. Harsh?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. So today we'll be discussing the basics of e-invoice, the legal provisions, how to create an account with NIC, how to integrate through Excel and APIs in GSTZen. We'll be showing various demos, how you can generate e-invoices through GSTZen. And as discussed, we'll also have an FAQ session at the end. So all of your questions will get answered in this session. Before moving on to e-invoicing, let me tell you a little bit about GSTZen. So GSTZen is a software company. We basically help in GST compliance besides e-invoicing. We provide various services such as return filing. You can file GSTR 1, 3B, 9 and 9C. We also provide various reconciliation reports wherein you can compare your books with GSTR 2A, 2B or GSTR 1. We provide various consolidated and PAN level reports. We also provide e-webel reports. GST to Excel. You can validate GST numbers and HSN codes as well as a 3B offset facility. Let's look at some of our numbers. We have more than 30,000 users. Lakhs of reports have been downloaded from our database. We process millions of invoices daily, and there are more than 20 crore invoices in our database. And in GSTZen, every 2 seconds, an e-invoice gets generated. So load handling is not a problem for us. Now moving on to e-invoicing. So why has the government introduced e-invoicing? It has introduced to make the system more efficient. Since increasing e-invoicing, India's ranking has moved up from 77 to 63 in the ease of doing business matrix. So moving digital will standardize various processes, which reduces data entry errors and save costs. It has been observed that due to e-invoicing, it has led to 96% in cost saving, 80% time saving, and it has made the process 15 times more efficient. It also enables better compliance by taxpayers and simplifies audits. What is e-invoicing or electronic e-invoicing? There is no prior standard under GST or any other statute. So e-invoicing is a process by which you register your invoice with the government portal, that is your IRP. So whatever you generate gets registered with the e-invoice portal or IRP as you call it. Everyone who generates the e-invoice has been given a specific format which every person has to follow. So it has enabled interoperability across various systems. So if earlier, so all of you must have been using some kind of software to maintain your accounts. Some might be using Tally, some might be using SAP, or some might be using Oracle. So when you generate an invoice from that software and give it to your buyer, so it is not possible for him to integrate to put the invoice straight away in his software. So e-invoicing enables interoperability. So everyone is sending the information in the same format through e-invoice. It goes to the GST portal and therefore it gets auto-populated in 2A, 2B. So it allows interoperability. So it also helps other players like banks, wholesale retail chain. So this is just an example. So all of you are, let's say you are charging your laptop. So the socket in India would be different than any other country. But the thing you're extracting the power is the same. So you right now you have various software. You are all creating the same information, but in different ways. So through through e-invoicing, this gets eliminated, and everybody is creating in the same format. It allows interoperability between various parties. Now let's look at some of the legal provisions. So e-invoicing first went live on 1st October 2020 for businesses whose turnover exceeds 500 crore, and the most recent one between 5 crore and 10 crore has been proposed to go live on 1st August 2023. It has been notified by Central Notification 10/2030. Let's look at some of the other notifications which are applicable. So through CGST notification 68/2019, e-invoicing was notified. Rule 48 of CGST rules it gives the manner of issuing invoice when you are generating the e-invoice. Rule 48 sub rule 4, it gives a form which specify how to generate the invoice. When you're generating an e-invoice, it will provide the format, it will provide the schema. Rule 48 sub rule 5 says invoice other than any invoice which is not any invoice which is generated in form GST INV1 is valid. Anything else is not valid. Again, as per Rule 48 sub Rule 6, multiple copies of invoice are not required if you are generating e-invoice. So before e-invoice, you would have to generate a copy for your buyer, a copy for transportation. Now these are not required, only one copy, that is e-invoice. CGST notification 69/2019 gives the official portal, e-invoice portal, that is e-invoice1.gst.gov.in. Now the government has allowed other portals as well. We'll look at those a little bit later. And by CGST notification 60/2020, it provides the schema, that is fields of INV01. It provides all the information. Schema is giving the fields which should be present. Some are mandatory, some are optional. So all the fields that should be present in an e-invoice are provided in the schema. These are the additional new IRPs that have come into existence very recently. So e-invoice1.gst.gov.in, that is again run by NIC government. There are 4 other private players that they have their own IRPs that have been notified recently. So one is Signet, one is ClearTax, one is maintained by EY, and another one is maintained by IRS. So all these other platforms are maintained by private players. 2 are maintained by the government. That is e-invoice 1 and e-invoice 2 are maintained by NIC, and rest are maintained by private players. So now which people are exempted from e-invoicing? So any unit that is in SEZ is exempted from generating e-invoices, a government department, a local authority, and persons covered by CGST Rule 54, which includes a banking company, insurer, or a financial institution, including NBFC goods, a transport agency, a passenger transportation service, and any exhibition of cinematographic films in multiplex screens. This has been updated as per notification 2020. So anyone other than a person exempted has to generate e-invoice if they have crossed 5 crore in any of the previous financial years. So this question also comes up various times. I have some people might have crossed 5 crores, let's say in 1980, sorry 1890, but after that they have not crossed 5 crore. Is e-invoicing applicable to them? Yes, it is applicable to them. Since the beginning of implementation of GST, if you have crossed 5 crore for your PAN in any of the previous financial years, that is by from 17-18, if you have crossed financial year, crossed 5 crore in any of the financial years, e-invoicing is applicable to you. So this slide is very important. Please make sure you pay attention here. So which transactions are covered under e-invoicing rules? So all the supplies which are made to other businesses, other registered parties, the people who are GST numbers, that is business to government, and export of services. In all these cases, you have to generate e-invoice. So all, if you supply to businesses or to government or you export, and these are taxable supplies, then you have to generate e-invoice. It is applicable for invoices, credit notes and debit notes in relation to supplying, in relation to selling or providing services to businesses, government, or in case of exports. So in which case, now we have seen the cases where it is applicable. There are some cases where it is not applicable. So it is not applicable for bill of supply, delivery challan, ISD invoice. It is not applicable when you are selling to a customer, that is a B2C, purchase from unregistered sources, or import of goods and services. So it is applicable when you are selling taxable goods or providing taxable services to businesses, to government, or in case of exports. But it is not applicable in case of bill of supply, delivery challan, ISD invoice, or if you are selling to a customer, that is a B2B transaction, purchase from URD, or import of services. So it is notified by Central Notification number 70/2019. Registration. So everyone who's eligible for e-invoicing, the government has provided a sandbox, a testing portal. Before going live, you can test to see the process of generation of e-invoice. You can see what type of responses you might get, what type of errors you might face. So you are able to iron out all the issues before you go live on 1st of August. You can test using the sandbox environment. Plus, a trial website has been created for uh, taxpayers with PAN-based turnover above 100 crores. So this e-invoice one trial.nic.in is not available for anyone who's below 100 crores, but API sandbox is available. The live portal is e-invoice1.gst.gov.in, plus the other portals, that is e-invoice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The other ones are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can also get registered on those. There are some other tools which the government has provided. So you can download the list of people generating e-invoice currently. You can also get the status for a particular GST number, whether that GST number has been enabled for e-invoicing. The government also provides an offline utility. Instead of going through any other software provider or a GSP, you can use the offline utility to generate e-invoices. Plus, the government also provides an app to verify the e-invoice. By scanning the QR code on that invoice, you can verify whether it is a valid e-invoice. It will give you a set of information by scanning the QR code, and you'll be able to verify. Plus, there is a thing called acknowledgement JSON. So all the information that you're sending to the government portal will go in the form of a JSON, and the response will also come in the form of a JSON. So that JSON you can use to verify whether this is a valid e-invoice. Plus, it will give you all the information of the invoice process. Now, how does it work? So you can link your own ERP, or you can use the offline utility. Other thing, you can use other softwares as well. So you upload all your information there. Then the JSON gets created. The JSON will then be sent to IRP. IRP will validate the details, check for duplication also. So once you generate e-invoice for a particular document, you cannot generate it again. Even if you want to make changes, and let's say you want to make changes and generate it again, you will not be able to do it. So it will check for duplication. Once the data is validated, it will generate the e-invoice, send back the acknowledgement JSON that this has been generated. The seller will send this e-invoice in the form of a PDF and the acknowledgement JSON to the buyer. Once e-invoice is generated, the e-invoice portal, if e-way bill also you are generating, it will send the information to the e-way bill portal, plus the information will also go to the GST portal, where it will auto-populate in your GSTR1. So before implementation of e-invoices, you would manually upload all your GSTR1 data, your B2B invoices, into the GST portal. Now, when you generate the e-invoice, it will automatically be there in GSTR1. So it will get auto-populated in GSTR1. From there, it will be sent to GSTR2A and 2B of the buyer. So there, the buyer themselves can view it. As soon as it gets auto-populated in GSTR1, it will go to GSTR2A. And after you have filed GSTR1, it will also go to GSTR2B. Let's look at some of the terms and definitions. Invoice reference number. What is IRN? So it is a combination of the taxpayer GST number, financial year, document type, and invoice number. It is a 64-digit alphanumeric number which is used to uniquely identify an invoice. It is for computers only. You can ignore it. You will not be able to decipher it yourself. So if you give a particular set of combination, it will give you an IRN. So if you give the same details again, it will say duplicate IRN. So that is why you can only use the invoice number once to generate the e-invoice in a particular financial year. So if you generate an e-invoice against invoice number 1 today, even if you try it after 5 months, you will get a duplicate IRN error. It will say that you have already generated IRN against this document number and you cannot use it again. So again, this is the process. So taxpayer sends the e-invoice JSON to invoice registration portal, that is IRP. After checking various fields and checking for duplication from the e-invoice registry, once it is validated, e-invoice will get generated. If e-way bill is also generated, the information will be sent to e-way bill portal. After that, the response is sent back to the taxpayer. Once e-invoice is generated, it will be sent to the GSTR1 as well. From there, it will be sent to GSTR2A and 2B. Invoice registration portal. So this is authorized by the government. It is run by NIC. It verifies and acknowledges e-invoices, replies within a blink of an eye, and it will retain your information for 24 hours. That is also the window for cancellation of e-invoices. So after 24 hours, you will not be able to cancel, and the portal will also not give you any information beyond that. It will not contain the list of invoices as well. So if you want to save the information, you should use some software or save the information in your computer itself, because later on you would not be able to get the same information from the portal. It will only save the information for a specified period of time. This is what the response from IRP looks like. It will give you an acknowledgement date number. Acknowledgement date is the date on which you generate the e-invoice. It is not the date of the invoice, but the date of generation of e-invoice that has to be kept in mind. So let's say I am generating an e-invoice for an invoice dated 10th of June. So even though the invoice date is 10th of June, the acknowledgement date will be 20 June. Sorry, acknowledgement date will be 21st June, that is today's date. Then you'll have acknowledgement number, IRN, that will be 64 characters. Signed invoice, this is a code which can be used to generate the invoice again. If you upload this acknowledgement JSON, if you decode this, you'll get all the information of the invoice. Signed QR code, again, decoding it will give you a QR code image. Status, whether it's active. If you cancel it, it will say cancel, CAN, e-way bill date, number, and validity if you are generating e-way bill simultaneously as well. So this is what a PDF from the e-invoice portal looks like. You have the QR code here. You have acknowledgement date, acknowledgement number, IRN, plus it will give all the details such as line item, your transaction details below. Signed QR code. This is what the QR code looks like. When you scan it, it will say digitally signed by NIC. It contains high-level parameters of the invoice. When you scan it, it will not give all the information of the invoice, but only the high-level parameters can be used to know the authenticity of an invoice. So when you scan it, this is the information you'll get. You'll get the buyer GST number, document date, number, the type of document, whether it's an invoice, credit note, or debit note. You have the IRN, item count, how many items are there, main HSN code, seller GST number, as well as total invoice value. So these details you get from scanning the QR code. So how does GST Zen integration work? My colleagues would show you the process. This is how it works in Tally. So we have our own TDL, which we add to Tally. From there, you create the invoice. And when you send a request to generate the e-invoice, the data is sent to GST Zen Cloud, where it will get converted into JSON and validated. Then it will be sent to IRP. From there, GST Zen will get the response from the portal and store it back to your Tally. Let's move on to some of the frequently asked questions. So you should not leave your e-invoicing till the last moment. You should start trying it out or looking for various options, and make sure that you are ready when the date comes. So now we will be looking at some of the FAQs. So when should you, at what time is the e-invoice required for a particular transaction? So for invoice where you're selling goods, it has to be generated before commencing the movement, as you're doing in case of e-way bill. So you generate the e-way bill before transportation of goods. Similarly, you have to generate the e-invoice before the movement of goods. Invoice for across the counter sale before completion of the sale, and invoice for services before it is issued to the customer. How does e-way bill work in case of e-invoices? E-way bill are governed by Rule 138 of CGST rules. E-way bills can be generated simultaneously along with IRA, or they can be generated on a later date as well. So if I generate the e-invoice today, I can generate the e-way bill for it 2 days later by using the IRA. So in this case, e-way bills are linked to the e-invoice through IRA. So you have to make sure when you're generating e-way bill, you should generate the e-invoice first, then generate the e-way bill for the invoice, or generate it simultaneously. You should not generate the e-way bill before and then generate the e-invoice, because those two will not be linked then. So IRP supports e-way bills only for invoice. If you are generating e-invoice for a credit note or a debit note, it does not support e-way bill. The e-invoice portal does not support linking of e-way bill with IRN in case of credit notes and debit notes. It only supports linking of e-way bill with IRN in case of invoices. So if you want to cancel the invoice, you have to cancel the e-way bill first, then you can cancel the e-invoice. How to print the e-invoices? you have to print it with IRN and QR code. You can have your own formats. You might have a format of issuing invoice. You can have the same format. You'll just need to add the other details like the QR code, IRN. How to send the e-invoice to the recipient. IRB will not send it to you, send it for you. You have to send it yourself along with the acknowledgement JSON. You should send it so that the other party is able to verify the e-invoice by themselves. What details of the e-invoice should we save in our ERP? So you should save the acknowledgement number, acknowledgement date, invoice and QR code digitally signed by IRP. Can e-invoice be cancelled? Yes, e-invoice can be cancelled, but only within 24 hours of creation. Once e-invoice is generated, it cannot be modified. So once, let's say you have generated an invoice, but instead of putting the taxable value as 1000, you put it as 100. So now you have identified the mistake, but once e-invoice is generated, you can only cancel it. You cannot modify it. Now you also might think, is there a time limit for issuing the invoice? It is recommended that you create the e-invoice for an invoice within a week so as to be compliant with section 31. So earlier, in the past month, the government had introduced a time limit of 7 days, which right now has been taken back. It will be implemented in a few days again. That was implemented for 100 crores. So time limit was given as 7 days. Now it has been removed again. There is no limit as such right now for turnover below 100 crores. So in theory, you can generate an e-invoice for a backdated invoice. So let's say on 30th of October, you will be able to generate an e-invoice that is dated 1st of August, but it is recommended that you generate it within a week. So if you're generating an e-invoice on 30th of October, ideally you should not generate for an invoice which is dated before 23rd of October. So what if I have generated an invoice by mistake and it is not cancelled within 24 hours? The other option here is, one option is you generate the credit note for it. The second is you cancel it from your books. And when you file GSTR1, you remove it from your GST portal. So before filing, you can also remove it from GSTR1 or you can issue a credit note. Some technical aspects, the schema. So this we have already gone through. So schema has various sections and under those sections you have various fields. Some are mandatory and some are optional. So in this image, all the mandatory sections are shown. You have to provide the seller details, buyer details, line item details, the total amounts and the document details. This one shows your optional sections. So if you have a different ship to address, you'll provide the ship to address, dispatch from address, export details, plus you can also provide additional information such as payment terms or any reference details like your purchase order, purchase date. So those are optional fields, optional information that you can give in your e-invoice. So you have some mandatory sections, some optional sections. Within those sections, you have mandatory fields and optional fields. So now let's look at what GST Zen is offering. So GST Zen is offering various solutions. Through GST Zen, you can create e-invoices using Excel. Two methods are present in there, secured folder and drag and drop. We also provide direct database access, that is ODBC. Plus, we have custom solutions, ready-made solutions for Tally and SAP. And we also provide APIs which the developers can use themselves to integrate their software to GSTZen for generating e-invoices. Now my colleague Utkarsh will show you a demo of how to generate e-invoices through GSTZen. After the demo, we'll take up all the questions.
Good afternoon, everyone. Please let me know when if you can see my screen. Yeah. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, thank you. So this is the landing dashboard page of GST Zen. As soon as you log in to the main page of GST Zen, you would see these GST numbers that you would have added for managing them. In the GST main page, you will find small details about the GST numbers, that whether the GST R1 is filed or 3B9, and there are some quick links also which will help you to manage your GST numbers very well. So let's start with the first method of e-invoice integration, that is creating through the billing software. So what I have to do, I have to just add one GST number, and then I have to go to the selected GST number. Then I have to go to create invoice. As you can see, the document number comes automatically. It means that whatever e-invoice before I have made, like before to the session, that series will be automatically continued, and you do not have to increment or increment it according to the new invoices that are generated. So it means that it will follow the pattern automatically. So in this form, let me fill in some basic details like document date I'm putting for today, and then I would enter the details. The recipient details I would enter. Then there are also fields for adding the ship to details and the dispatch details. We can add it accordingly. Now let's add some line item details. In this case, I would add some chairs. The HSN code and every description comes automatically as it is stored in the master. If I want, I can change the unit price also, the quantity depending on that. So let me change that to alter a bit. And I can see the item value and the IGST value, everything gets adjusted accordingly. Now at the end, I would just click on this and save invoice. Okay, let me change the document number of it. And I go to here, review. So as soon as I see that once I create into the billing page, I land into the e-invoice object, which shows me what are the details I have entered through the billing software, what buyer details I have entered, what are the details of the line items, or all would be mentioned here. Now to generate an e-invoice, I have to just click here to generate. But before that, let's see how an invoice looks like before going into an e-invoicing system. So as you can see, the seller details, the details of the invoice, the QR code, these QR code will be coming after it is converted into e-invoice, and IRN number, acknowledgement date, what my colleague Bharti told. So that would come once it is generated. So these are the basic things that would appear once the invoice object is created in GSTZen, and that you can see in the sales register of that particular GST number. Okay, so then we click on this, click here to generate e-invoice, and you can see that the IRN is generated. You can see the acknowledgement number. As you can see, the time is close to the time which is now, and the acknowledgement number also. Now let's see what the PDF now looks like. As you can see, every detail is same else than the QR code, the IRN number, and the acknowledgement number and date. So these additional fields gets added into the invoice object. So now if I want to generate an e-bill, I have to just go here and enter the vehicle details. Let's say I enter this. And then I choose the mode of transport as road. As I can see, the e-bill number is generated, and also the validity and the date, everything is showing here. If I click on the PDF again here, I can see the e-bill details are also coming in the PDF, which means that all the generation, whatever has happened by the IRN generation and the e-way bill, all are being captured in the invoice. Now, if I want to cancel, you can just cancel the invoice and the invoice gets cancelled. Now I click on PDF. Now it shows that it is cancelled, and you see that the QR code, the acknowledgement number and the acknowledgement date, IRN, everything gets disappeared. This is the complete cycle of an invoice from generation to generation of an e-way bill and through cancelling of it. Okay, so this is the first method how an e-invoice can be generated. Let's see at the second method, that is through the Excel. Now I would again come to my landing page, the dashboard where all the GST numbers are being managed by me. I would just click on this. And then I would be directed to this page where I can select e-invoicing. Here you can see various options of integrating with Excel. And for this demo, I would go to GSTs and Excel. Let me show you the template, how the GSTs and Excel looks like. If I click on this, so this is how the Excel looks like. And in the about sheet, you can see various details about the fields, whether they are mandatory, whether they are optional, and all the color coded fields are added. So it would help you in generating the e-invoices. In the sales invoices, once you click here, you see all the bold letters which are mentioned. These are all the mandatory fields. So you do not have to refer to the about sheet again and again. And this is the main sheet where you would enter the details of the invoices. And this is the master data, which contains the details about the state, the UQC code, the transaction type, how it's accepting, the document type, if you want to generate an invoice, if you want to generate a credit note or a debit note, depending on the document number and depending on the country code, or everything, all details are added into this sheet. Now let me go back to this page, and I would just select an e-invoice, like a list of an Excel which has all the e-invoices in there. And I would wait for some time. Yeah. Now you can see that there is an error showing that webinar bulk 109 encountered a following error, e-invoice already generated. It means that if you have any invoice which is already generated or which has any error in it, so to say, as per the schema, so GSTs and intelligent system will be able to detect all those wrong things, and they will be able to detect it. And whatever fit according to the JSON schema of the e-invoicing system would be present in this invoices tab. As you can see that their webinar tests 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. They cleared and they are into the e-invoicing tab. Again, if you see on the PDF, you would see that they do not contain the QR code and the IRN number and the acknowledgement date. So converting them into the e-invoicing invoices, you have to just click on this, yes, upload e-invoices. And slowly all the yellow marks, as you see, will be slowly converted into the green marks, which means that the e-invoices are getting generated. Let me go into one of the e-invoice. So this is the same page that we had landed through the billing software. So any mode of integration, whether through the billing software, whether through the Excel, you always land to the sales register where it contains all the e-invoices that are being generated through various modes. So it becomes a central repository for all your invoices. So let me now go to our last mode of another mode of integration, which is the through API. So for API, let me change the date document number for it. And so this is the JSON structure. And basically this is how all our systems are working. This is the schema what the government portal is expecting, and we send them through the particular JSON by giving the seller details, the buyer details, and giving them the GST number, the legal name, and all the essential details that are necessary that I also showed you in the Excel. and the line items as shown here. So these are in the form of JSON, especially helpful for all those people who are looking to integrate with their softwares. So let me send a request to this. Yeah. So I can see that it has various fields which will help the developers to find out. Let's say the status is equals to 1. It would always signify that the IRN is generated. And the IRN key shows a value of the IRN that was generated for the particular e-invoice. But if you are wondering that how I would get the e-invoice PDF, we always have a solution for that. So this invoice PDF URL, let me just copy this and let me go to a browser. So for it to work, we have to just do my.gstzen.in and then paste. And then if we enter, we can see that e-invoice is generated, and the same link which we were seeing here in the PDF is mentioned in the response of the API that we are getting. Now let's say I want to create an e-waybill also along with the e-invoice. So for that, I would just make everything else same, all the details, seller details, buyer details, everything else same. I would just add one another dictionary, that is the e-waybill details, which will contain the trans ID, the trans name, trans mode, distance, vehicle number, and vehicle type. This would obviously depend on whether you want to generate part A and part B. So accordingly, you have to enter the details in this. So if I click on this, I can see a 200 response I've got. Again, the status shows 1. In this, it shows that the e-waybill is generated. Again, I can see that there are a couple of PDF URLs. One is the invoice PDF URL and the e-waybill PDF URL. Similarly, if I go here and just copy the similar fashion, how I did for e-invoice, I can see the e-waybill is also generated with the same details that we were entering the keyboard hardware as computer hardware as keyboard and mouse, and the taxable amount is same. We can see that we passed in the transporter name, just in time ship private limited, and all those details what I have mentioned here. So all are coming. Now, if I want to cancel the e-waybill, if I want to cancel only the e-waybill, then the e-invoice would be there, but I can cancel only the e-waybill. So for that, we can just change. We have to just pass the exact same JSON, but the URL that URL at the top, which we have to ping to, would change. And for that, if I click, I can see again I got a 200 response. It says e-waybill is cancelled. As you can notice, the IRN status is still gen, because the IRN, the e-invoice is still valid. It's just that the e-waybill is not valid now. Now, at last, if I want to see that, if I want to cancel the e-waybill, the e-invoice, then again, I have to not change anything, just change the document number that we have been following in this complete demo. I will just click on that, and I got a 200 response that IRN is also cancelled. Now I can see that IRN status and e-waybill status both are cancelled. So this is how, these are the 3 methods how you could generate e-waybill and e-invoices. Now my friend Azhar would show you the demo of e-invoicing through Tally. Azhar?
Yeah, hi, Utkarsh. Hi. Let me share my screen. So let me know when you can see the screen.
Yeah, we can see.
Screen is visible. So I just want to add a note before we start the demo. Friends, you all know that the e-invoice generation is possible to be done through Tally Prime. It's already there. But there are many users who are using the older version of the Tally, which is the ERP 9 or 8.1 version or 6.3 version or 7.2. So the add-on which is given by GST Zen will assist the old users also to generate the e-invoice from Tally. This is one feature which is not there in the Tally. So if you have to generate e-invoice through Tally, you only necessarily you have to upgrade. And if you are still having some customization and you want to use the older version, here is the method. Of course, the same works even on the Tally Prime also. And Azhar, your screen is little small. Maybe I think
This is my actual screen.
yeah.
Let me just represent it again. Give me a moment.
I don't know. I'm seeing the window very small. Is it the same, Utkarsh, for you also?
No, sir, it's coming fine for me.
Full screen was there. Okay, maybe I think issue at my end. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So hi everyone, this is Azhar from GST Zen. Today I'm gonna show you how we can generate, cancel e-invoices and e-waybill from the Tally. So before you're going to start, we need to install one small plugin into your local Tally. So the moment when you install the small TDL, so you can able to access our GST Zen module in the Tally itself. So as you can see, this is our GST Zen module. Let's get into the module first. Here you have to choose B2B invoice, which is the first one for invoice generation from the Tally. Let me select the thing. So in that you can see we have 4 modules like invoice register, generated, pending, and cancels. So let me just get into the invoice register module. So this is nothing but similar to sales register. So whatever the vouchers which you have been raised from your sales voucher type and debit note, credit note, those vouchers will be appear here. So also you can see it has some color indications. So that when you see the screen, you may easily can understand whether it has been IRN has been generated or e-waybill has been generated or not. Everything you can able to see from this screen. So the blue color indicates for the voucher IRN has been generated, which is e-invoice has been generated. So the green one is indicates for that voucher, both IRN as well e-waybill also has been generated for the same voucher. And the red color indicate it has some issues when we upload the invoice to portal. So also you can, if you open the voucher, you can able to see the error in the status field. So you can see that this is the issue while causing when we upload the invoice. So GSN is invalid. So due to that reason, that invoice is not getting generated. And whatever the vouchers will be in black color, the IRN has to be generated for the voucher, which is IRN is pending. So let me just show you one live example with creating some invoices. So this is the option where you can select your multiple branches. Let's say for if you have any branches, multiple branches, for that also if you want to generate e-invoice from the particular branch, what you can do in the Tally, we can configure the multiple GSTN from the company level. So once you have configured those multiple location has been able to track from this option. So where you can select if you want to generate an invoice for your Tamil Nadu or Maharashtra, you can select it from here. Those seller billing details should be populating here. So what I will do, let me just select the primary, which is Karnataka. So I am just going to generate the invoice for the Karnataka location. I have selected the party also. Here, as usual, you can select your sales ledger. Just selecting the item quantity. So here, if you want to generate e-waybill for this along with this invoice, so what you can do, you can just provide the vehicle number here. In the vehicle number field, you just have to enter the vehicle number. So when you generate the e-invoice for this voucher, e-waybill also gets generated along with that e-invoice. So what I will do, let me just give the blank fields. I don't want to generate the e-invoice, sorry, e-waybill now. Let me save the details first. So I'm just going back to that particular GSTN module, B2B invoice register. So as you can see, this is what the voucher which I have created now. So the moment when you select the voucher in the right side button bar, you can able to access some of the button. So where you can, this is the upload invoice. You can send this invoice to the government portal. And also you can see some of the buttons like generate e-waybill, export JSON, send SMS, whatever it may be. So what I will do, if you want to generate any bulk invoices, let's say for you have bulk invoices has to generate, that is also available in the Tally, where you can select that whatever the line items which you want to send to that government portal, you can select those line items and you can click on the upload invoice. So it would happen in the blink of an eye. I think there is some issue. 1 minute. Yeah, let's say 1 minute. I think that is some server response issue. So this is what the voucher which I have created now. As you can see, it has been already changed to blue color, which means the IRN has been generated for this voucher. Also, if you press enter, it will give you the status of the IRN details. This is the 64-digit alphanumeric IRN number, which has been generated from the government portal, and the response has been pushed back to the Tally. This is what the acknowledgement number and date stamp when it has been generated. By seeing this acknowledgement, we will get to know. And the last one is the status. It is saying the IRN is generated, e-waybill status is not. Let's say I'm just giving you the print preview of that invoice so that we would know how it looks like. So as you can see, the moment when you generate the invoice, those IRN details will be captured in the invoice itself when you are going to print. This is the IRN number, and we have not yet generated the e-waybill. That is why it is showing in blank. This is the QR code for that particular invoice. So if you download the application from the government portal and if you scan the invoice, you will get the relevant details about this invoice. Let me just try to generate the e-waybill for the same voucher. So what we have to do, you have to enter the vehicle number here. So I have given the vehicle number. Let me save the details. So right now you can see this has been in blue color. I have selected this. Then I am just clicking on the e-waybill. So you can see that the color has been automatically changed when you click on the generate e-waybill. So you can identify for these vouchers, the e-waybill also been generated. You can see the status here. IRN status is generated and e-waybill also generated. Let me just show you the e-waybill details here. This is the e-waybill number which is captured from the government portal and what is the date which has been generated and valid up to. Let me show you the print. Yes, so as you can see here. So earlier it was in a blank field. So now we have generated the e-waybill for that invoice. So that is why that e-waybill number also tracked here. So this is all about the generation module. Let's say if you want to cancel the invoice, that is also possible from this module. So what I will do, let me select the invoice first. For that, you have to go into the generated module to cancel the invoice. So you can select the invoice which you want to cancel. You can see yes, sir.
Can you try cancelling the old invoice also? Can you just extend the register so
that
we can show the error? Take June 22 to June 23.
Yes.
7th June something which were prepared, which cannot be. Yeah, you try select 2-3 records and yeah.
Yeah. So I have selected some backdated invoices also, which has been generated on 7th June. And I have selected this today's invoice also. So you have to do the only thing is cancel e-invoice. So automatically you can see the error message, e-invoice cannot be cancelled because it already exceeds 24 hours of time limit. So that is why it is not cancelled. So that is, you can see the error message here, cannot cancel IRN generated more than 24 hours. Also, we have canceled one invoice that has to be moved to that cancel module. So the moment when you cancel, it will directly move to the cancel module. This is what the canceled invoice you can see. Yeah. the IRN status is cancelled. Also, if you want to verify this invoice with your GSTZen portal, so what you can do, you can select the invoice. You can view the invoice by clicking here. So it will redirect to your GSTZen account and you can see the invoice. Also, if you want to download as a PDF, that also you can do that from here. Yeah.
So any questions to participants, both on the e-invoice generation, either through API billing software, Excel, or through Tally, and little bit on the GST related subject on the technicalities of e-invoice. Any of the questions you can ask. So there's one question which says, to cancel e-invoice, we need to cancel the e-way bill first. The answer is yes. When an e-way bill is active, you will not be able to cancel the e-invoice. You have to cancel your e-way bill first, and then you have to cancel your e-invoice.
So that also let me show you. Let me select this invoice. So as you can see, for these invoices, e-way bill also been generated. So we have to cancel the e-way bill first.
Yeah.
The moment when you cancel, it will gets automatically changed into blue color, which means the e-way bill has been cancelled for this particular invoice, but still the IRN status is showing as generated. So if you want to cancel IRN also, you can select that particular invoice. You can click on the cancel invoice. Yes, it has been.
There's one more question. Gopi Agarwal is asking, debit note and credit note should also be invoice. The answer is yes. Not just the invoice, both debit note, credit note should also be e-invoice. Chaudhya is asking any example of debit note, credit note. It is same like how you do a data entry in the Tally for a debit note or a credit note or invoice. The module is the same. Umesh is asking, we are using Tally Prime Cloud. Do we need to still use GSTZen, or you can generate invoice directly from Tally? But Umesh, both are possible. You can directly go with the Tally Prime solution. The advantage when you use with the GSTZen, there are three advantages. The first one, you will be able to see list of all invoices which are pending to be generated. If you have a maker checker, someone has done a data entry and you need to have verify and generate any invoice, you can select all and generate in one bulk. You'll also able to see how many are generated, how many are pending, how many e-way bill generated with that color combination. That's the first advantage. Advantage number two is before you file your GST data with the government portal, since you have integrated with the GST, then you will see this invoices back in the GST Zen portals for GSTR1, which you can use it for the later date. The third main advantage is reconciliation. You can also ensure that there are situations where you have posted an entry in Tally, but by mistake you have not done the e-invoice, or you have posted an entry and generated the invoice, but within 24 hours you could not cancel it. You cancelled in the Tally, but on the e-invoice portal it was not cancelled, which means data has already traveled to your GSTR1. Before you file your GSTR1, it is very much necessary you have to delete that record. So in GSTZen, you have this option of syncing the books of accounts. Since the government data is already there, it will also give you a reconciliation in books, not in portal, not in books. All those combination of that information would be there so that it will assist you for filing. These are the three advantages when you use GSTZen software. Apart from that, there are other features of purchase and to-be reconciliations, which can be used, which is like any other GST ASP filing software. Marufji is asking, can you show us in Tally Prime? Marufji, what you have seen in the ERP9, even in the Prime, is just a color change. It works in the same way. There's a question from CA office. Is it possible to generate e-invoice in a previous date? Absolutely, yes. I think, Azhar, did you show any previous date transaction? But honestly, as of now, the answer is yes. Today, instead of posting on 21st June, I have posted an invoice date 1st April 23. Portal will allow you. Recently, government brought a notification saying that they will give a 7-day window. We are not sure when they will implement that. Till that point, the backdated transactions will be permitted. We are using Tally Prime Edit Log. generate e-invoice, whatever you have seen the demo for Tally ERP9, Tally Prime, both are one and the same. If you have any other questions, maybe you can unmute yourself and also ask. Whether e-invoice is possible if you are not using inventory or accounting vouchers, you can only for services. To services, let's say I'm a chartered accountant providing audit assurance accounting services. I don't maintain inventory. I can still do an e-invoice without e-inventory. That is possible. Sriram is asking, we are a company more than 5 crores maintaining all accounts in Excel. What is the solution for this? Sriram, Utkarsh has shown you an Excel upload. So you can just upload all your line items bulk in the GST Zen software. From there, all the e-invoice will happen automatically. To your customers, you can send the PDF or the web URL, which is there in the GST Zen. You can use that. You can definitely contact us on the details which is shared in the chat window. You can get in touch. Some of the team members will reach out to you.
Hi Venu, I am Sriram here.
Yes, hi Sriram.
Regarding that Excel question.
Yes.
You will be giving us a template of Excel, is it? Where
Absolutely.
we can fill up everything.
Yes.
Ours is a service export.
No problem.
And we'll generate invoice about 3 times a month. That's all.
No problem.
There is a specific frequency. By around 3rd, we'll list all the invoice dated 1st.
Yeah.
And on 20th, we'll generate one more bulk. On 31st, one more bulk.
Yeah.
Still, it is possible.
It's possible.
Okay. Okay. What are the even the template for canceling the invoice also will be there, or
yeah, it's the same. In fact, once the invoice is generated, you will see the invoice register on the GST Zen portal. On the Zen itself, we can just select that record and press the cancel button. The invoice gets cancelled.
No. When we come across, as many asked you the question, if we come across after 5 days, 6 days.
No,
something
within
wrong.
24 hours. Your cancellation window is only for 24 hours. That's what you have seen the demo where Azhar has selected a 7th June transaction trying to cancel. Portal will not cancel it.
Okay.
Cancellation window is only 24 hours.
In that case, we have to issue the credit note.
Credit note. Yeah, or you have to manually delete that register record from the GSTR1 before you file it.
Before filing.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. I'll get in touch with your
Surely.
assistant. Thank you. Bye bye.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, sir. It's
Yes.
Sonali Mitra from Shanti Enterprises.
Yes, ma'am.
So, sir, we deliver mobiles actually through public transportation.
Okay.
And if it cross the limit that we have to make e-invoice, and we have to generate e-way bill too. But
Correct.
in case of hand delivery, sir, how am I supposed to do a e-way bill?
Yeah, madam, again, when you say hand delivery, there is a vehicle that the person who is using to deliver the product. So the moment you are using a motorized conveyance and the value of supply is exceeding 50,000, so rule 138 mandates to generate an e-way bill. And that is where you have seen where Azhar has entered the vehicle number alone. If you enter the vehicle number, e-way bill gets generated automatically.
No, sir. If I am using a public transport, then how am I supposed to do that?
Yeah, so you have an option to change the vehicle number, the thing, and you also have a limit which is given in rule 138 sub rule 3, where the distance is between your location to the consignee location up to 50 kilometers. Change in the vehicle number is not required. So you need to have an e-way bill. You don't need to update the vehicle number. So till you reach to the public location, whatever is your vehicle number you will enter. If the distance that you are traveling is less than 50 kilometers, you don't need to update the vehicle number.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Is there any turnover limit for generating e-invoice on the backdated? Answer is no. Even if it is 1 rupee invoice and if it is a B2B, you have to generate an e-invoice. And as of now, there is no restriction on the time limit of the backdated invoices. So wherein Shaurya is asking, can I update it after 10 days? As of now, the answer is yes. Very soon they will be putting a limit. So we have to be, so we should try doing it instantly. I'll not say tomorrow, whenever, but you should do, since if you see, it's the e-invoice happens in a fraction of seconds. You don't need to, there's no additional process. Hence, I would recommend you should always do then and there. I have a single PAN, but with 3 GST numbers. The cumulative turnover of each of the GST number has exceeded 7. It is more than 5 crores, 7 crores. None of them is exceeding 5 crores. Is the invoice applicable? The answer is yes. Since it is a PAN-based turnover, once 5 crores is exceeding in the PAN, all the GST numbers, even the new GST number which is doing, say, let's say 1 lakh, even they have to do the e-invoice. Mr. PGP, I did not understand your question wherein there would be multiple tally invoices. Maybe you can be more specific. Yeah, we have answered all the questions that have come up in the chat. If you have anything, we are here for a couple of minutes. We can take up the questions. Otherwise, to all the participants, you will get the copy of the presentation which Bharti has shared, and along with the YouTube link, which you can watch the video at a later point in time. Shaurya is asking, the purchaser is not confirming the supply. How do I generate an e-invoice? Shaurya, in a normal course, you might given the goods on sale or approval basis, and section 31 subsection 6 permits you to wait till the confirmation happens. As and when your customer is confirming that he is okay to buy the material, you can raise an invoice and e-invoice at that point in time. How do e-invoicing in restaurant via POS? Marufji, you have to get in touch with your software provider who can consume the APIs of GST Zen and integrate at the time where the KOT order is getting generated. Of course, it's only for a B2B transactions you need e-invoice. In a B2C transaction, you don't require an e-invoice. If the transaction, my turnover in the previous year is less than 5 crores, prior to that in 1920 turnover was exceeded 5 crores, e-invoice applicable now? Answer is yes. So you have to do it. I think Shivu, this answers your question. All right, we have answered all the questions. I thank everyone for attending today's webinar, and special thanks to Bharti for putting up the whole presentation. Utkarsh and Azhar, thank you for being here and showing the demo. If there are any questions, you can always reach to us. Our support numbers are shared. So hoping to serve you soon. Yeah. On this note, we'll